I wanted to film this earlier, like an hour ago, because we just had this 30-minute rainstorm a couple hours ago. And you know how after the rainstorm, not only do you get like the beautiful rainbows, but you also get this like yellowish hue in the sky. Like it's like it looks really yellow, like not like an afterglow kind of thing. Not necessarily like where it's sunny, but like I guess it's kind of like when you turn on the light in a room. Only it looked a little more like a deeper yellow. And I wanted to film them because I always thought that was really pretty. But I got called down for dinner, and time just slipped by, and I didn't get a chance to. So I'm filming, but I am still doing this. I decided to kill two birds with one stone this month and attempt to read both some creepy horror whimsical books and participate in Viktober. No, really, all I'm probably gonna do is just read the books that represent that kind of like Victorian literature and creepy whimsical stuff. I'm not gonna, because I don't like, most of that stuff is either on Instagram or Twitter, and I do have an Instagram, so I can do Instagram stuff if I wanted to, but I can't like do the Twitter sprints or anything like that. And that's, I was actually trying to say that on a comment on a video I watched about how to handle drama on social media and how not to be, how to cope with the negativity of it all. And I was trying to say in the comment that, like, I almost want to get a Twitter for stuff like that so I can participate in readathons and do, like, the Twitter sprints and all that. And there's times when people socialize a lot more on Twitter than they do on Facebook. And I know a lot of people now are like, screw Facebook. Like, they don't like it anymore. And I don't know why, because I've never had any problems with, there's been some cricks and creaks in the system for me, but I've never really had a problem where I'm like, I hate Facebook. So I still am on Facebook. And I was trying to, and I was trying to tell this girl that, like I said, there's things that people do on Twitter that I almost would like to be part of, but then Twitter is like this black hole you get sucked into, and I've already dealt with that even on Facebook. And yes, that kind of drama happens on Facebook too, especially when it comes to like TV show drama. There was this whole thing about, how I always bring up Once Upon a Time on these videos, where there was so much drama in the Once Upon a Time fandom, like people that were fans of Hook or people that were fans of Rumple, and both I could think could be assholes. Both Hook fans and Rumple fans could be assholes, I think, and be very opinionated. Now I admit I was on Team I was more a Rumpelstiltskin fan. In fact, I couldn't stand Hook. But, yeah, I just got so fed up with that drama after a while, and it was just causing me, it was, like, I do have a little bit of anxiety, and it was just not helping. And every time I got emotional and upset about the show, my mom could hear me getting emotional. She would kind of get annoyed, because to her, it's just a show. Not that big of a deal. You shouldn't get that emotional over a show. And she would just be like, what's wrong? Calm down. It's just a show. And I think she still to this day thinks it's silly that I quit watching the show. And basically I was trying to explain why I almost won a Twitter account, and I couldn't concentrate. I was getting tired, and my mind, I was doing stuff I was on Facebook, and I was on here on BookTube, and then I was watching Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. So my mind was in multiple places at once, and like I said, I was tired, so it was hard for me to formulate exactly what I was trying to say in that comment. So I still sent her a comment, so hopefully she understands what I was trying to say. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway. So like I said, I'm doing whimsical, creepy reads and Victorian reads. And this is probably not going to go well, but I'm going to do it anyway because I like the idea of those themes. It's just I'm not good with the follow through. That's the problem. And I keep trying to do it because I keep trying to read more, focus more on reading rather than being on the internet or watching TV. So enough chat. Let me show you the books that I'm going to try to read in October. Okay. First, let's go for the Viktober. I'll go back and forth. For my first Viktober, I don't even know if this will be the first one I'll read, but for Viktober, one of the books I want to read is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. I think that's how you say his. Yeah, because Thackeray is the last name. William Makepeace Thackeray. I guess you can't really say that Thackeray without doing the lisp. I don't know much about this. I do know that there was a movie made years ago. I don't know if it was Reese Witherspoon or Kristen Dunst who played the main character. I want to say it was Reese Witherspoon who played the main character in the movie version. But I don't really know much about this. I'm familiar with the title, but I don't know anything about the story. But I loved, I got this from the used bookstore, and I love this edition, even though there's, really nothing on it. I like how it's, it looks like an old-fashioned book. That's why I love getting those hardback, bind-up editions of classics that are from Barnes & Noble, the leather-bound books, that they have the really cool old-fashioned design about them, and sometimes they have a little string that's a bookmark, a little ribbon bookmark. I have a whole bunch of those that I really like those because I just love the look of them, how they look old-fashioned. And this, even though this is very plain and there's really nothing on except for the title and this little design, this little gold square around the title, I like the look of it. And I like how the page is really old too. They have that yellowish, reddish coloring. I really like that too. And also, I did recently sent on a comment on a video. I already forgot the girl's name. She's kind of a Monica. She's a booktuber that I just got into subscribe to a few years ago, and or last year, I don't know. I don't remember. And finally, I started to watch some of her videos more. I've started to watch more of her videos, and she said that she likes these mass market, this isn't actually a mass market, but the size is the same size of a mass market paperback. I really like those too. That's basically, I told her in the comments, and part of my comment, I said that I liked those mass market paperbacks as well. And this is kind of like those, except for I don't think it's considered a mass market paperback. Or maybe it is, but mass market hardback, I don't know. It looks like a Bible. It looks like the way a lot of Bibles look. And I've also always liked the feel of Bible pages too. Okay, so next book I think I might read for Viktober is I need to really get back onto reading this. As you can see, I've already read a lot of this book. But as usual, books like this, or the really long ones, or the ones that aren't super thrilling or action-packed or exciting, or adventurous, those books take me longer to read, and then I try not to say the B words. I'm going to say restless with these books. So I take lots of breaks, and this was one of those books that I took a break from. I just wasn't in the mood for. I was in the mood for a second, and then it's I don't want to read this anymore. I'm done with it. I'm going to take a break from it. But I do really love this story. By the way, this is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have the BBC miniseries, the one with, I can't say the actress's name. I still can't figure out how to say her name, but I know Richard Armitage is the male lead in this story in the miniseries. He's also, Lauren Oakenshield. And I think he also did one of those disaster movies a couple years ago. Like, I don't know what the actual disaster was, but I think he was in that one. And I'm trying to think of what else. There was something else he did where he got a small part, but his character dies right away. It dies in the beginning. And he was also in the BBC show Robin Hood, which I still have to finish watching. I think it's still on there. It might have been one of the shows that got taken off of Netflix. But anyway, I actually like this better, even though it's taken me a while to read. I do like this better than Pride and Prejudice. I know that's blasphemous, but I like this story a little bit better than that one. I guess maybe because Pride and Prejudice, everybody knows it. It's so popular, so it's like by the time I got around to it, it was like, it was good. I like it. I like the romance, but I'm not like, oh my god, this is the best book ever. But this one, it's basically Pride and Prejudice, but during the Industrial Revolution. And it's mostly in the city. And it basically follows the same plot. Two people from two different worlds. At first they don't like each other, but then they slowly start to fall in love. It's like that. So, I'm going to read that. And next, now this is an actual Victorian literature. Or like it wasn't written during the Victorian period, but I think this is set during the Victorian period, and it follows the same writing style, and that is The Essex Circuit by Sarah Perry. Again, this is the one that I started reading. I really do love books like this. Like the more literary books is just, I've been obsessing over reading more adult fantasy, and I've been because ever since joining BookTube, I try to keep up with BookTube and all the new releases, all the popular books, and like, I don't take my time to read because I'm trying to read so many other books that I keep hearing about on BookTube, and not just like the new ones, but the popular books that are older, that have been around for a while, like the popular classics, or popular, books that aren't classics, but they still have been around for a while. But I used to be able to read books like this. Yes, they would take me a while, but I would still get them done. I wouldn't take like forever, as long as it wasn't the size of, like a Brandon Sanderson book, then I could get through it. And even then, I have read, even before now, I did read books like the Dragonlance books, and those were kind of thick. But now, and I'm not saying it's entirely BookTube's fault, but because I've been on BookTube, I've been a little more, trying to keep up and feeling pressured. And it's true, I do, as they say, put this pressure on myself. But it's also kind of hard to ignore and to discipline yourself to not let BookTube get to you when when you're watching it all the time. But I really should focus more on this part, on the filming part, rather than obsessing over watching videos. I mean, I'll still watch the videos, obviously, but don't watch them just to be like, oh, I would just want to watch another BookTube video before I go to bed. Or let me just watch one more because I'm bored and I want to watch something, Or I want some noise in the background while I'm doing things. But anyway, like I said, this is set during the Victorian period, but it wasn't written during the Victorian period. It's basically this woman who just became a widow, and she takes herself and her son to Scotland, and she learns about this mythological creature, the Essex Serpent, and has decided she wants to find out if it really exists. And that's all I know. Don't you love this cover? I love the yellowish coloring of these, you know. But anyway, so I'm gonna read that. So I am gonna include it, even though it wasn't written. It isn't actually Victorian literature technically. I guess it is. You can count it as such. It just wasn't written during that time period. Okay, and then next, okay, this is one of my favorite booktubers, Jen from Insert Literary Pun. She talked about, she would talk about how much she loves this book, and she would read it every year in March because of the title. So I decided to go ahead and read it for Viktober. And I did really like it. It was good. It's just really long. Although now this isn't the original edition that I had. I had an actual mass market paperback edition, a smaller one, but again, I got it from the used bookstore, so it was kind of old. And I have no problem with reading books and them looking old, like literally, not just like my Vanity Fair edition, but actually looking old, like looking red. I have no problem with books that look red, books that you can tell that I've read them quite a bit. But the problem is that one, along with the Mistborn Final Empire, pages were coming out of the book. So I don't like that because I don't want to lose any of the pages in my books. You know, so yes, I'm okay. I'm cool with it looking red. Believe me, I have no problem. I think it shows that you love them and everything, and that you really appreciate them, and you know. But I don't want to lose any pages. And in the case of Final Empire, it was actual pages with words on them. It wasn't just an extra page or a page with title on it or like the copyright information. It was an actual, like, one of the pages in a chapter. So that one I definitely could not lose. But so I ended up buying this. I saw this a week ago at the bookstore and decided, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this copy and then just put that copy away to be donated back to the bookstore. And I feel bad, but I can't really fix it, and I don't want to throw it away because it's still perfectly good. It's still in good condition. It's just that one page. And someone else might not be as bothered because it really isn't a crucial page. It's just a page, with copyright information or like a title page or something. So it's not that important, but it still personally bothers me. So I bought this edition. And even though I've already read some of it, like I've read up to chapter 10, I don't really know exactly. I can't really sum up what this book is about. I know it's about a lot of these different families in the small town of Middlemarch. That's it. And all their relationships. And one of the sisters is getting married to this guy, and she wants to choose her own husband, and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, not blah, blah, blah. It's a lot more important than that, but I might have to change this bookmark, because the problem with this, I'm using a Hawaiian bookmark, but the Hawaiian bookmark is not like this part keeps sliding, and this bookmark is prone to fall out. Like, I really am starting to like the magnet bookmarks, because those are more secure. They don't fall out. Okay, so I've been rambling too much. I still gotta get to the creepy whimsical books. And then, of course, you can't not read Charles Dickens when you're reading Victorian literature. You can't think of Victorian literature without thinking of Charles Dickens. So I decided I've been slowly collecting some of his books. He's another author that I have a Barnes & Noble leather-bound bind-up edition of some of his books. But the problem with that is you can't carry those around. You can't carry that big book. You could, but then it's really big and heavy, and it's nice, and you don't want to. So it's basically kind of hard to travel with that one. So I've been collecting these paperback editions, and Claire Foy. Claire Foy and Matthew McFadden and Tom Courtney. Oh, so that must be Claire Foy. I did not realize that. But anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked. Oh no, Claire Forlorn is the other one. Claire Foy, I don't know why I recognize her name, but anyway. So I don't really know. I'm going by what I read on the back. Let's see. This guy's interested in this girl, but he's told that the girl is nothing but trouble. And her grandfather was imprisoned in debtor's prison. And that's it. I don't know. I don't want to read I don't want to read the back because then that'd be kind of boring for you guys. Actually, I can try to make it more interesting. Charles Dickens' great satire on poverty, riches, and imprisonment. Little Dorrit is the story of Arthur Clenham, a man whose kindly interest in Amy Dorrit, his mother seamstress, assures him nothing but trouble. Her father, William Dorrit, a man of shabby grandeur, has long been imprisoned for debt in the Marshalsea, a masterly evocation of the state and psychology of imprisonment. Little Dorrit is a supreme work of Dickens' maturity. So I probably could have done better with that if I knew how to say some of those words. But anyway, so those are all the books I'm thinking about for Viktober. Now on to the books I'm thinking about for the more spooky version of things. Okay, so this one is I just selected this one today, actually just now. Not today, but just now, right before I started filming. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've already read this book, but that was so long ago. It was way before I even joined BookTube, and I was very excited to hear that this book did have a following on BookTube, and some of the people that were fans of it were also people that I'm fans of. Like their channel. I like their channel. So I have been wanting to read this for a long time, for a while now. I just haven't got around to rereading it again. Like I said, the problem partly is because I've been on BookTube, so I'm trying to keep up with BookTube and read all the new books and the popular books and the books and not just that, but also there's so many books that I hear about that even whether they're popular or not, if I've heard about them and they sound like something that I would like to read, I'm also trying to read those. And they're not necessarily the popular books, but they're books that sound interesting and really cool to me. So I'm trying to read those as well. So it's trying to keep up, all the new books I've heard about. Trying to keep up with those as well. So every time, I ended up feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be wasting my time with rereading a book I've already read. Or like, oh, I'm more interested in fantasy right now, or a YA book, or reading a book that won't take me as long, and so I end up neglecting these kind of books. Because, this book isn't, this book is kind of long. But I want to reread this, especially since I've heard stuff about it that, not everybody's in love with it, and people were disappointed by the romance in the story. At the time, I liked it, and I love the writing. It's such beautiful writing. Oh, and by the way, this is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And it's these young people who are magicians in training for a competition, and not realizing that they will be in the competition together. They end up meeting and falling in love. So it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet type story in a way, with the circus is a bit of the backdrop of the story. It's this magical circus that comes to town every night. It's just such an amazing, circus, and everyone who falls in love with it. And so I have been wanting to read this for a while now, and I hadn't gotten around to it. So finally, I think I'm gonna get around to it and rereading this in October. Next is Stalking Jack the Ripper. I was debating about this for some time and it's for a really stupid reason. And that's because it was a James Patterson's Presents novel. I've heard some things about James Patterson that I didn't like. I heard that he doesn't write his own books anymore. And he treats the publishing of his books like a assembly line. Like, he just keeps publishing books. But I feel like he doesn't take the time to appreciate them. And I know, in a way, Stephen King does this. Like, Stephen King also puts out his books like it's an assembly line, but not the way James Patterson, I feel like James Patterson does. And I've also heard recently that the reason why Stephen King is able to put out books so quickly is because he writes the manuscripts ahead of time and then will eventually take them out and publish them. So it's not like he's paying someone else to ghostwrite for him, as far as I know. And hopefully I'm right. And that's, so I just had issues with James Patterson, but then I was like, you know what, that's stupid. Okay, he's not the author of the book. He just owns the company that is putting out these books. But from what I know, this is about this woman who's I think it is the Victorian period. And of course, she's during a time when she wants to be, what exactly is she? I don't know what she is, if she's, I'm trying to, I don't know if she's, a surgeon or something, but anyway, so she's, in this particular book, she is obsessed with Jack the Ripper, as the title implies, and it's during the time when he's around, so she is trying to find out and understand him, and I think probably expose him or something. I really don't know. I mean, it's funny, I'm not doing a very good job at this, explaining what this book is about, and even though I've heard millions of times what the premise of this book is, I guess I can't do it on cue I can't do it right now. But yeah, so I'm gonna read this right now, and okay, now this is actually a library book. Okay, so I recently read The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and I really liked that book. I really enjoyed that book, and I want to read more of Neil Gaiman. I was originally looking for Coraline, but I didn't find that one, but I did find this one. And actually, there were several editions of this book. The Graveyard Book, which I believe, from what I know, it's about this kid who's raised by ghosts in a graveyard. So I thought that would be perfect for, first of all, it was a Neil Gaiman book, and it's also during, he's in a graveyard raised by ghosts, so what perfect book to read in October than The Graveyard Book. I also do need to read American Gods soon. I mean, it's funny, I was intending to start with that one, but I still have not gotten around to reading that one. So my first Neil Gaiman book was The Ocean at the End of the Lane. And this will be my second one, unless I do decide to bring American Gods with me on our little trip to visit my sister for the weekend. But still, that doesn't mean I'll get around to it. Next, of course, you cannot have you can't not have an October without reading some Stephen King. So I started this back in, I want to say June or early July. I started reading this, and I've taken a break since. And that is The Shining. Which is, in case you don't know, which I find, this is about a man and his family who inherit a very big hotel in the middle of the mountains, I believe, and he and his wife are having problems, and he's a bit of an alcoholic, and he's a writer, and his son, he's a little boy that is a little, I think he's kind of psychic. And well, actually, the title, he actually is called he has the Shining. That's what the title means. And he can see spirits, and it's basically, and eventually the dad ends up going a little crazy being in this hotel, isolated for so long, and he tries to kill his family, essentially. I mean, if you are at least familiar with the book, even if you haven't read the book or even seen the movie or only seen the movie, you're familiar with this. I'm sure you're familiar with what this is about. But anyway, I'm slowly building my Stephen King collection. I want to read more Stephen King, because I do like him. I just don't read it. I just don't read a lot of him, especially because his books are usually so long. Like, it took me forever to read The Dark Half, which I like that one. It's not my favorite, but I did like that one. Like, I like the whole premise of a writer having an alter ego. Okay, so I'm gonna read that one. Now on to some more whimsical reads. I am going to read the first book in The Magicians, which is about a group of young people in their late teens, early 20s, and they are taken to a magical school, a magical college, where they learn magic, and they're actually all kind of horrible people, and it's about, the main character is Quentin, who's this young man who's obsessed with this particular book series, the Fillory books, and he actually finds out, and the only reason why I know more about the plot is because I watched the TV show as well. I want to read the books though. And he discovers that, that the school is actually connected to the characters in the Fillory books, and that Fillory is actually a real place. And so not only is magic real, but Fillory is real. It's about him going to magic school, learning magic, having relationships, and that's basically it. So I am horrible at summaries. Unless I really think about it and really then I'm gonna be really bad in the summary. Unless it's like a basic, very simple plot, like The Ocean at the End of the Lane was kind of a simple plot. I'm not going to be good at explaining what the book is about, even if I do know what it's about. I'm going to read that one as well. And then I'm also going to read another library book, The Girl Who Drank the Moon. This by Kelly Barnhill. This is another whimsical read about this village where these people will drop off their babies. I don't know why, but they will leave their babies at the front step, the front door of this little witch in a cottage, and she doesn't know why the parents leave their babies there. She's really not as evil like they think she is, and she will feed them these babies Starlight. Well, one baby was dropped off at her doorstep, and she accidentally fed that baby Moonlight. So she decided, instead of giving that baby away, like she gives all the other babies away, she decides to keep that one because Moonlight is a little different. It's a little more powerful. So it's like she doesn't want to send that baby, the little girl baby, to a family that won't understand. So that's a little bit of improvement compared to my crappy description of The Magicians. But anyway, that's all I know. I heard this was all these books I hear are really great books. Or some of them I know that they're really great. Well, actually, okay, I really don't know. But anyway, so I want to read this one as well. And the 2 library books I need, I want to get those done. Those are kind of priorities because, they're due back in 2 weeks. So, and I want to at least, as I've said in the past, I like to have at least 2 of the books, or 2 or 1 of the books, at least 1 of the books I checked out from the library finished, so I can at least turn in 1 book instead of having to recheck it. And besides, it's not just the fact that I feel guilty if I don't have at least 1 book that I've checked. Like, it's not, scratch, okay, rewind. It's not just that I feel guilty that I have to keep rechecking out these books. It's also the fact that I don't want to have to recheck out all 5 books and carry all 5 books back home. I actually want to have at least 1 book to return. So I won't have to carry them. Okay, so next, the last, this isn't actually the last book. There's another one that I might include in this. But Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. This is the Hannibal story, the Hannibal series about, about Hannibal, the famous cannibal psychologist who, and like, this is the one I'm most familiar with. This one I actually, I grew up watching the movie. So that's what he looks like, Thomas Harris. And so I decided, even though this is technically like, you do also have a prequel book about Hannibal when he was a boy and how he grew up and became Hannibal the Cannibal. And you also have Red Dragon. But I decided to read this one first, even though Red Dragon, I think technically on the time, chronologically, Red Dragon should come first. But this is, my friend, okay. This is a book that my friend has been trying to get me to read for a while. So finally, I'm going to get around to reading it. So the last book that I might read this month, kind of whimsical, kind of spooky. I think it is, if I'm remembering it correctly, is The Distance Hours by Kate Morton, which I already read this one, but I've been wanting to reread her books. If I'm remembering correctly, this is the one about the woman who is like, she finds out her mother is connected to this family of sisters and their father who own this famous manor castle. And she decides to find out what happened to them, which is usually how Kate Morton's stories go. So there's always some kind of mystery and someone trying to learn about the past and what happened. But with the manor castle, it's kind of creepy, and I thought, it would be kind of a good starting point for rereading her books. She actually has a new one coming out, The Clockmaker's Daughter, that I want to read, but I'm waiting until Christmas. That one's on my Amazon wish list for a Christmas gift. So yeah, I might get around to this one. I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna probably totally fail on reading all these books, but I'll at least get the 2 library books read. So are any of you guys going to read spooky, whimsical, or read this October, or are you gonna read are you gonna participate in Viktober, where you read Victorian literature this month? Feel free to share in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already and you enjoyed the video. I hope, as always, you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye.